I was actually damn surprised when I was going to a friend's wedding and then all the young kids there were all playing Roblox. This anime avatar I have in Genshin Impact. I want that guy to be my avatar when I'm going to work.
First question, can you introduce yourself and your role at Patel?
Right, hi everyone. Jansen, I'm the co-founder and CEO of PathDAO. We exist effectively because we believe that gaming can be so much more for your life than just fun. The beauty about what Web3 can bring to through gaming is that you get now more financial access, more social elevation as well beyond just a typical entertainment and fun.
What's the motivation there for game developers on creating these kind of systems or games with these systems to give power to the players instead of to themselves?
So the way businesses or games, they evaluate their success is normally through this term they call the average revenue per user. How much money can a user actually fork out in a game, and that pays the developer. What happens is then basically every gamer that goes to this game, on average, a game developer makes $120. The beauty about Web3 gaming is because now you're taking this maybe 5 or 10%, let's say 10% transaction tax, right? It sounds like smaller, right? It sounds like I'm only taking 10% of 120 instead of taking the whole 120. There's two parts here. One, it's a flow model, right? So like if I sell a legendary sword to another gamer, this sword can be sold again to another gamer and sold again to another gamer. If this sword transacts 10 times, I make back the same value as a normal environment. That's the first one. The second thing is that because now, right, there's some form of liquidity for your assets, meaning that I can actually, if I game, I play, and then I'm bored of it, I can actually leave the ecosystem. Like today you cannot, right? Today if I play EVE Online, I used to be an EVE Online gamer. I accumulated like around like 10,000 USD worth of assets. But when I started joining the workforce, I knew I was like, okay, I don't have time to play, I gotta exit the game. The only way I could exit is through a shadow market, right? And because of that, I have to liquidate on like cents to the dollars. The beauty about Web3 is now, because it's a more open economy, I can actually sell these assets to another player. So from a gamer perspective, right, when I come and pay for a loot box in the game, or buy a skin or buy an item in the game, in my head, it's no longer an expense. It becomes a form of either investment, or I could think that I could liquidate for the same value, or maybe even lower value, right? But I can actually sell it, right? It's no longer an expense. So our expectation, I think we are seeing already in the games that are Web3 today, you are seeing like 5 to 15 times higher spend intent by a gamer in the game itself. So you combine that 5 to 10 times more spending, so your average revenue per user from 120 goes up to 1,200, and then now this item starts flowing, right? And you 10x that. So suddenly the value that could be obtained from a user increases way exponentially.
What would you say are the most popular games using this system right now in existence? And are you playing any of them?
I think the Web3 gaming ecosystem, the hype started with Axie Infinity, right? I used to be an Axie Infinity player. But I think the beauty about that was Axie was a first test case of a game, and it was a cut game for new users hearing this, right? But effectively, what's happening right now is we're seeing a lot of genres being developed in the space. Genres from like your typical 4Xs, like your Rise of Kingdom equivalent.
Right.
Now you have a copy of that, which is called League of Kingdoms. And honestly, that's something that I enjoyed a lot. So Rise of Kingdoms 1, right? So it's a 4X genre. It's more open economy. It's exactly like Rise of Kingdoms. So it's like the one where you can build a city, you go and harvest resources, and then you go and attack other players, right? With an alliance. Now your resources can actually be sold on the open market. Your champions or your dragons can actually be sold on the open market. Rise of Kingdoms, your champions are locked, right? Like effectively, I have a 5-star legendary Mehmet or something. One of those Alexander the Great, right? Some of these champions, right?
Right.
It's stuck to my account, right? I can't trade it, I can't flow it, right? But in League of Kingdoms, it's tradable. There's an open economy. You get to move things around. It's a mirror of a Web2 equivalent, but it brought in a bigger open economy environment that make it more engaging for a user to actually spend more and actually to dive more deeper into the game.
I've been seeing in Web3 gaming, which is like copies of existing games.
Yes.
Do you feel like that clear lack of originality is a problem? Like, does it need to change, or is it already changing?
I think because right now we're actually still at a very nascent stage of the industry. I think the beauty about copying is that it's easy, right? A lot of times they just take a core game loop, they reskin it, add some Web3 layers and test, right? These are actually very crucial for the growth of the economy because this allows for early testing and to see which model works and which not. What we've seen is that, from an economic model perspective, some people were testing with like a economy where there's an inflationary token where your in-game currency is actually an on-chain currency, but it's inflationary. And they realized that actually no, it doesn't work. So games like Axie Infinity, like Titan Arena, so these are games that are actually fun to play, but they realized the economic model was a bit broken. And you could do it because it was a reskin, it was fast. I mean, we do a lot of investments into all these games as well, and we've realized that there are a lot of more innovative games coming in that are really changing the landscape. So it's not just copy a Web2 game and then slap in like some NFT assets. A lot of them are actually fundamentally changing the way how a game operates. In an MMORPG, you tend to have servers, right?
Okay.
Like World of Warcraft, right? You have server A, server B, server until 1,000 servers, right? And each of these servers tend to be controlled by a lead kingdom, right? The most powerful kingdom. Sometimes in some games you have server-to-server battles, or sometimes it's just this kingdom, like king or coordinating resources and what's happening in his kingdom, right? One of the games that we've invested in, they're trying to use Web3 to incentivize how the king actually controls his economy. So effectively, there's a limited amount of tokens that is on-chain that could be mined or extracted from his server. This king, his job is to control that emission of resources and to see how those resources could be utilized in a way that's productive for his kingdom. So people are building more kingdoms, building more cities, engaging in more battles.
So that's almost like a meta game.
Correct. There's
like
a metagame layer built
thing.
with this whole Web3 environment.
Right.
Another example like Shrapnel, they're trying to change the FPS genre. So typical FPS like CSGO, right? You tend to play a few maps. They wanted to use Web3 to incentivize map creation. When people play your map, effectively you earn more tokens, right, and resources, which you then can use to reward the gamers in the map, right? You can create challenges and leaderboards and competitions. And the idea is then you create an environment where users or map creators are incentivized to create the most coolest map, and all of these coolest maps fight for dominance to be the main map of the game. So if there's more gamers playing your game, or if there's more gamers that vote using the tokens for your map to be the competitive map, to be the number one map, then that map is like the global map, right? The new users will actually land there, start playing the map, and then they will spend tokens, upgrade the items, upgrade their rank. They create a map versus map kind of meta game as well, using this Web3 as an incentive model for map creators to fight against each other. So this is another example, right? So there's a lot of creativity that can come. Right? These are just two examples of how creative Web3 can actually come into games. Right? Beyond just the typical, like I have an NFT asset and it's all about ownership.
And speaking of NFTs, like when we're talking about Web3 and gaming, you have like games that do something with the blockchain. Other games are more straightforward NFT games. Like you can literally just label them as NFT games. Is there like a sizable, like a real meaningful difference between these two kind of games? Can they coexist?
I think a lot of the games we see today, again because of speed, right? And maybe because some developers want quick money, they'll take an existing game, right, or a studio that's already developing an existing game, and then all they do is they convert the assets or like the heroes or the items into NFTs, and that's it, right? And then they call it a blockchain game. I wouldn't say that's wrong, right? Because I think the value add that you get from that is there's true ownership of the items that you have in game. You get a bit of liquidity of the game, and then maybe some form of quasi ownership in the sense that maybe because I get dropped like ownership tokens of the game, it means that as a gamer I tend to own the game a bit more, so I'll be an advocate for the game, maybe. But the problem about that is I think those games, or what we call like the Web 2.5 games, right, the ones that just reskin a Web 2 game and just convert the assets into Web 3 NFTs, is that they are not really exploring the full spectrum of what Web3 can do for gaming.
Right.
Which is not wrong, it's early, it's fast, but hopefully over time they will evolve more and more into a deeper, like open economy and really bring the true value of what Web3 can actually bring.
Imagine a game like Fortnite, a game like Counter-Strike Go. What if you could make a skin an NFT and then you could use the same skin across multiple games? Like
interoperability, right?
Yeah. Do you think that's viable, or do you think that's even wanted by people right now?
Yeah. And honestly, I think the use case, right, is less so of if I bring a legendary sword, or like let's say a gun, legendary gun from Fortnite, I can use it in PUBG, or I can use it in another MMORPG, right? I think the value of this is mainly from the social flexing value. I was actually damn surprised when I was going to a friend's wedding and then all the young kids there were all playing Roblox. Fundamentally, what is Roblox, right? Roblox is actually young gamers trying to build their digital identity. Right? And this digital identity is then used in different forms of games. It could be a pirate game, it could be a overcooked game. But the point is that there's this digital identity that they used to bring across. The beauty about interoperability is then you allow a gamer, a user, to actually invest so much more into that digital identity. If I bring this identity of I have a massive fashion, I invest so much in this fashion in Warframe. Imagine that fashion, right? Okay. You could actually use that and bring it back into your Roblox world, right? Or you can bring it into your Minecraft world that you play as well, right? That is the kind of identity that I think a lot of gamers are starting to feel the need for, like some form of ability to flex that I am some amazing guy. We are seeing that happening also as people are exploring this whole metaverse environments, right? I think this whole metaverse environment, effectively, people are trying to create spaces where you can exist and socialize digitally with other people, right? And the beauty about this interoperability aspect is that if I want to socialize in a world, on an office space, right? I don't want to appear as like a Jansen looking avatar like this, slightly looking in like a digital format, right? That's not cool. What's cool to a gamer is I love, let's say, this anime avatar I have in Genshin Impact, right? And I decked it out so beautifully, right? I have the best gear, look damn cool, right? I want that guy to be my avatar when I'm going to work in my digital workspace or when I'm meeting someone else, right? That's my identity. Even Fortnite is trying it today, right? They're trying to bring in, like, if you play a certain game, you can port in a certain like skin into the Fortnite environment, right? It's doable. It's actually doable in Web 2. But I think the beauty about Web 3 is because every single game is built using the same exact protocol, which powers this whole NFTs, right? This, for the guys who are deeper in the space, this ERC721, right? It's a standard protocol, or whatever protocol interoperability of NFT assets might exist. Every game is going to build using that same exact protocol. And because of that, right, it's so much easier for a game to recognize assets from different games.
Right.
Versus like today, like a Fortnite would have to, back end, they have to have a business development guy go and forge a partnership with, I don't know, like a Pokemon guy, right? And then only back end, both companies say that my IP can cross your IP, then we make a deal, you say, okay, let's do it. Right? I think the beauty about the Web3 space is that that's more open and everyone uses the same protocol, so you don't need this kind of baggage or bureaucracy, right, to actually implement this interoperability environment.
I feel like it's still among, the public consciousness of, every gamer out there with a PlayStation and Nintendo Switch or PC. Like, I feel like it's still kind of occupying a niche. So what would you say are like the most common deal breakers for these players who are looking at the space and just kind of are turned off by it?
Yeah, I think the success became a problem for itself, right, of the Web3 gaming space was the over-financialization aspect of gaming. Like when Axie Infinity started, right, a lot of people came into the space because they thought they could earn a lot of money. They realized, oh, like if I could just game and earn money, right? And then to a lot of people, they don't really think deeper, like where the money is coming from, right? So they just come in, right? What happened is then, fundamentally for Axie, for example, it was actually the growth of new users that was generating this whole income for the existing users. You can think of it as a soft Ponzi, right? It wasn't built for that, but effectively it became a Ponzi, right? And a Ponzi is effectively, you need new users coming in to power the entire economy. That was the fundamental, I would say, soft flaw of the economic model that Axie built. And I think, but what it did was it attracted so much eyeballs. It generated this massive wave that we saw, right? And because of that financialization, I think when the assets start devaluing or when the growth starts plateauing, assets fall, incomes fall, some people get hurt, and then it starts getting a bad taste in some gamers' mouth, right? Like, okay, so what this blockchain thing, this blockchain gaming is all about this quick money, some people can get burned, it's just a money game. Right? I think that is the reason why I think a lot of gamers today are turned off by blockchain gaming. Because people came in with the thought of making money, and then if you get burned, then you'll be like, oh, okay, this whole thing is a scam. But for me as a gamer, right, I'm just going to tell you my story. It's actually quite interesting because I was always the guy that was attracted to real-world economy games, and there were some of these that existed in our Web 2 world way before blockchain existed. Stuff like, there used to be a text-based game called Anno 1770. So it's like an open economy, you can build businesses, open countries, buy islands, but it's a text-based web browser game. I was playing that when I was a kid. Then I went on to discover this game called Entropia Universe. It's an open world concept. You can go around, hunt animals, get loot, go and mine, build a community, but it's powered by real economy. So meaning I can convert 10 USD is equivalent to 1 PED in the game, one pet, right? And then I can cash out a 1 PED to 10 USD, right? So this open economy stuff existed already in these games, right? I was always trying to find a game that effectively, if I put my time into gaming, I get the entertainment value out of it, but I'll never feel like I actually wasted. There's some form of, it might be a $5 after a month of gaming, whatever, right? Like it's some form of value that I could have created rather than wasting time, right? And that's why I got addicted a lot to EVE Online, because there's a massive shadow economy that you could actually convert your in-game activities and skill, right, into something that's probably worth something in real life. So even though it's small, it was just like in my head, it's cool. So then when I started hearing of like NFTs and blockchain gaming, right, the first game that I came across was not Axie Infinity. It was actually this tower defense by these Animoca games, right? It was an effective tower defense game. Your cards are actually NFTs, and if you play enough, you can actually sell these cards over like a secondary market.
Right.
So that was my first stop. Then I realized actually it's quite fun for someone like me as a gamer who was trying to find for games where if I put money in, I can always have a liquidity, or if I'm not wasting time just gaming, even though it's like pennies, but it's just, for me, that was a game that fitted my criteria. And that's why I realized that for me at least, the early value add of what item liquidity is, what an open economy is, spoke volumes to me as a gamer. It's actually not good, because a gamer don't give a shit about whether I'm playing a Web2 game or a Web3 game. It's because a lot of these games, they don't allow for a pay-to-win environment.